And I will call the roll. Albany,
Here.
Barnett, Bill,
I'm here.
okay. Bloomfield,
Here.
Brighton,
Here.
Brownington, Brunswick,
Here.
Cabot,
Here.
Charleston, Concord, Corinth,
Yep.
Danville,
Here.
Derby.
She says here in the comments.
Oh, okay. East Haven, Kerwin,
Yes. Here.
okay. Glover, Granby, Greensboro,
Here.
Groton,
Here.
Guildhall, Holland, Irisburg,
You.
Jay, Kirby, Lunenburg, Linden,
Here.
Maidstone,
Here.
Marshfield, Morgan, Newark,
Here.
Newberry,
Here.
Newport Town. Steve? Is Steve still with us?
Unmute.
Oh, okay.
There. Here.
Okay. Norton, Peacham, Reigate, Sheffield,
Here.
Stannard,
Here.
Sutton,
Here.
Topsom, Troy, UTG,
Here.
Victory, Waterford, Westfield. Jake?
He left the meeting.
Oh, he did. Okay. Westmore,
Here.
Wheelock,
Here.
3 years after you. 120 degrees in the shade or an afternoon of poker and you've gone
24.
I have 24.
We finally have the same number.
All right.
That's a good start.
Good.
Perfect. All right, we'll call the Tuesday, September 10th, 2024 Northeast Kingdom Waste Management District Board of Supervisors meeting to order. Article 2, is there any updates to the agenda? Hearing none, we'll move right into Article 3, which is the approval of the minutes from the June 11th, 2024 meeting.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes of June 11th,
Anybody have a
2020
motion?
as printed. Anybody hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Second that.
And the new rules say you don't have to have a
So we
second.
got Steve, and was that Steve that seconded, Paul?
It was seconded, but Steve says new rules say you don't need a second.
Oh, wow.
All right, all those in favor of approval of the minutes of the June 1st, 2024 meeting signify by saying aye.
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 If there are any
Aye.
opposed, nay. Ayes have it, thank you. We'll go right into Article 4, the truck lease.
Yeah, so we've been leasing, well, we haven't been leasing, we've been renting a truck on a weekly rate literally all year. And the first half of the year, it was paid for as part of the insurance claim. If you remember correctly, one of our trucks we didn't hit a bridge, but it was being towed for repairs and the towing company hit a bridge. It took 6 months to get that truck back. So through the end of July, maybe even early August, we've been renting a vehicle. Now, we've continued to have to rent that vehicle or a vehicle because we've had so many issues with other vehicles. And so I asked Ryder to give me pricing for a lease. And not sure if I put it in the notes or not. But right now we pay anywhere between $900 and about $975 a week for renting. And the reason it varies is because of mileage. I got pricing for a lease that a 3-year lease for a model year 2019 or 2020. I think I said 3 months. I meant 3 years. Would be $1,775 a month. So literally half of what we're paying now to rent a vehicle.
Any mileage on that?
It's 30,000 annual miles. Dustin asked if there's any mileage on that. So the lease includes 30,000 miles, and then anything above that's at 10 cents per mile.
You said half, but I think you meant double.
Double, yeah. Sorry.
you.
Thank
Yeah,
you, Shannon.
right. Right.
Double. Well, the lease rate is half of what it would cost compared to renting. Yeah. So we're paying double what we could be by renting.
It's actually even more than that. You said you're paying
It is.
about $9 to $9.50 a week.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if
Week,
it's
okay.
$1,000
Okay.
a
I'm sorry, I
month,
thought you said month.
So, and a 60-month lease term for a slightly newer model would be $1,875. So it would be $100 more to lease a newer model, but the lease term would be lease term would be longer. It would be 5 years instead of 3 years.
Paul, can I ask a question?
Well, Ken has his hand up. So Ken, you have a question?
How does that compare to the price for owning a vehicle and operating it? I
Well,
understand you're comparing leasing with renting. Well, how about owning like we do with our other 2 vehicles?
yeah.
Mhm.
Trying to find that right now. A brand new truck costs about $100,000. Well, that's what it cost in 2020 when we purchased our last new vehicle.
they're more.
I'm sure it's going to be, I don't know, 120, 130 at this point. So if you do the math,
Yeah, but from what I hear every month, there's a lot of upkeep on these trucks. It's not just the cost of buying, but keeping it going.
right. So just the cost of owning a $130,000 vehicle for 5 years is $2,100 a month. So the lease, either way we went, would be less.
Does the lease include like repairs on the truck?
It does. Well, it includes regular maintenance, scheduled preventive maintenance. I think the newer vehicle has, well, let's see. It says included in the operating lease, and this is regardless of which option we would choose, all major and minor repairs, all routine service visits, tires, towing, roadside repairs, replacement trucks, annual registration costs, state and federal inspections, and washing. Which is interesting because I don't think we've ever washed one of our vehicles.
Paul, where do you have to bring it?
White River Junction, which could be problematic. And that's one thing I would want to find out if, if they don't find anything wrong with it, I'm sure they would change the oil, do whatever they had to. We could probably get it back, but we still probably looking at a whole day, or close to it, probably half a day anyway. But it does say that replacement vehicles are included. So I would want to find out how that works, and what the frequency of, the scheduled maintenance is.
What's your average mileage per month, say?
Well, our annual, so Dustin asked what our mileage was, and I ran this by Steve Hodgson because he's been with us the longest driving trucks, and he says we're right around 30,000 a year. So I think, so my plan would be to lease a truck immediately, and then in next year's budget for leasing 2 vehicles. And then we would have the 2020 Mac that we purchased. We have one more payment. We would own that outright. And that would be the 3rd truck that we would use.
Summertime?
Well, when we're busy, yeah, in the summertime. Also, if we're getting towards the end of the lease and we need to save some mileage, we can use the Mac to keep mileage off the leased vehicles.
How many miles on the map?
I don't know right off the top of my head, but if we're putting 30,000 on, I'd say
90 or so.
about 120 maybe right now. Or maybe a little less because we're in the 4th year. So,
Paul,
yeah, Jan has a question. Ken, does that answer your question before we move on?
Yes, I had a separate question. Do you want any of us to try to see if we can get you any bids for a lower lease price?
Well, that would be really incredible if someone would be willing to do that, because I looked at this a couple years ago, and Penske leases trucks as well, but at the time they didn't have anything that had a lift gate, which I thought was a little odd. And I just haven't had time to look into this.
Could you email all of us out the specs you'd want on such a rental? So we know, lease, so we
Yeah.
could ask people?
Yeah.
Thank you.
And obviously I'd like to move on this quickly, but I also understand that, we can't move too fast on it. And if we have more information for the October meeting, we'll just, bring it back to the board then with more information.
Well, we could pass something tonight to give you permission to go ahead and do it. And you decide which is the best one if you get some other bids.
Yeah, that would work too. Jan had a question.
all right, just to go back just a little bit. Are we replacing the 2017? Is that the plan?
We would not only replace the 2017, but we would replace the 2012.
We're replacing 2 vehicles.
Well, what I'm asking for this evening is just to lease one vehicle. Which one it replaces at this point?
Doesn't really matter.
No, but the 2012 Freightliner is actually inspected. We can't get the 2017 International inspected at this point. Oddly enough, that's the one that's running right now, though.
Why? No. Just to, you said we spent $14,000. Now, was that insurance money or was that in addition to the insurance money? So after spending $14,160, we recently received a quote for $13,000 to conduct further repairs.
Right, the 14,000 is independent of the insurance.
Holy shit.
Now,
Yeah.
is that a historical figure during a period of time or just fairly recent?
Oh, it only goes back to July when we got the vehicle back. In hindsight, we probably should have pursued totaling the truck with the insurance company. Because all we've done is throw money at that truck since we've gotten it back.
Okay, so.
All right.
When we got it back.
Yep.
I'm not sure, but I know that we poured money into it, and when we thought we had it fixed, then it came back, they couldn't inspect it. I'm not sure what they found this last go around, that they're saying 13,000, so
Yeah, the last go around, it all has to do with emissions.
a motor.
Yeah. Well,
Uh-huh. Yep.
The motor?
emissions. I don't know.
Yeah, but that covers a broad spectrum. 17.
Deals with the computer.
Cause the filter, and is that what the problem is?
The filter was mentioned.
Okay,
Yeah.
Which a filter for that's only probably maybe $1,200.
Yeah.
We replace them all the time in ours.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't think it's the filter per se.
oh, it's
Um,
if it's the catalytic, it's also the catalytic converter also.
Yeah.
No, the even on that truck, Dustin, it's independent. The cat's in the back, at the end of the system. That's the burner, and the other filters at the front.
Yeah.
So even I would say if it's going to be that much money, we're probably looking at the burner system not working, the EGR part not working. So it's obviously something
All of those things you just mentioned, Nick.
more in depth,
sound
like
familiar.
replacing the whole entire system almost.
Yeah.
We did that and it was like $9,000. So I mean, if they're saying 13,000, then it's got to be that and more.
Yeah.
Which truck has more value if we try to, I don't know if you can trade it in, or is there any, I mean, that's obviously gotta be some value in it, and would that go against the lease or?
Well, if you can't get the vehicle inspected and it needs $13,000 worth of work, I don't think anybody really wants that. The last time we got rid of a vehicle, it was sold to someone who shipped it to Bolivia.
Oh, yeah.
Where it didn't matter what the emissions or any of that was. And
They rip it all off anyway.
yeah, so
About the only good thing on that truck is the body that we just had put on it, right?
well, yeah, that's a good point. That body wasn't even new. It was a used body and it was in fair shape.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just I guess I didn't pay close enough attention to how much we were spending on it until we got the quote for 13,000 and then just said, look, the truck isn't worth that. We need to stop throwing money at this thing. Steve,
Mm-hmm.
How much, what was the insurance claim, total amount?
I don't know if I have that right at my fingertips, Steve. But it was I want to say probably 15 or 20,000 when it was all said and done. Just to rent a vehicle for 6 months was pretty expensive. And then one of the rentals We had got involved in an accident in Island Pond. We're still pursuing that claim. So yeah, it's
Oh,
been kind of a pain.
So we have a wreck, not our fault, on a 2017 vehicle. And then if we're without the truck for 8-9 months, and $42,000 has been or would have been expended, and we still can't drive it.
Well, most of that expense was in rental fees. It's 14,000 that we've spent on the truck. And I want to say that's actually on the high side. I don't know. I know we had a bill for 5,000. There was work done on the front end.
Wow. This truck was in bad shape.
Yeah. But so we were this close to getting it inspected. All the lights had been, addressed, the sensors, whatever. We had an appointment to get it inspected, and we missed that appointment because we needed the truck to do a run because the other one was in the shop. And so lights came on shortly thereafter, and we've been chasing those ever since. Yeah, I'm almost embarrassed to admit that we spent that much. And that's why I was going to wait until the first of the year and put it in the budget. But, because it's half the rate, I really would like to pursue it sooner rather than later.
When do we have to get it inspected by?
Well, the inspection ran out.
Oh, it's out. Okay.
The month it was in the accident. So it's been out since December of 2023. So it really shouldn't be on the road at this point.
And Paul, we don't really go without paying for trucks anyway, right? We pay them off. So what do we do in the past? So it's multiple payments for X amount of time.
Yeah, like for instance, we are
5 years.
Yeah, the Mack truck, the last payment is due this October, and it's 13,500.
Which is about like a yearly, what we'd spend a year on a lease.
Well, here's the other thing. We purchased that truck with about $50,000 grant. So
Right.
we didn't have to finance as
right.
much as we would if we bought the truck outright. So our
No,
annual
I mean,
cost-
I think we dodged a bullet there, and that's fine. But I guess my point is, I'm looking at total cost. You look at the price it is to lease that rig. I mean, right now we're spending, even if we lease one truck, it's saving us $2,800 a month.
Yeah.
So it barely costs a third to lease it as it does to rent it, and then if you factor in now, we have to have our own insurance on that truck, and that's it, right?
Yeah.
Everything else is covered. It said registration, everything.
Yeah. Annual registration costs included.
It shouldn't even be a discussion point. It's almost a no-brainer if they're willing to do that for what was it, 1,000? What was it a month?
The 3-year lease is $1,775, and the 5-year lease is $1,875. And the 5-year lease is for model 2022 or 23, and the 3-year lease is for model 2019 or 2020.
Which really doesn't matter as long because it's going to run, and if it doesn't, then they bring us a new truck. So,
right.
It just seems like the cost would be a lot less leasing as opposed to fixing and maintaining these trucks that we buy, and then in 2 years they're nothing but trouble. Even the Mac's already been in numerous times. So
the Mac, oddly enough, is currently in the shop because of air pressure issues. I think that's going to be a fairly straightforward fix. But we're forced to use the 2017 that isn't even inspected. But it's the only other truck that's actually running right now. I had to go up to Holland last Thursday or Friday to rescue our road crew because that 2012 Freightliner went into limp mode and wouldn't go over 5 miles an hour.
Oh, gosh. Wow.
Okay.
I'm willing to make a motion to allow you to lease a truck and look into leasing 2 next year. It sounds like leasing them is going to be cheaper than owning them. That's the way it looks to me anyway.
Yeah, I think so. And we can certainly go over that at the budget meeting. You know, I'll have more information regarding the whole picture for next year. But right now, I'd like to get one as soon as possible so that we can stop throwing money at these other 2.
I'll second that motion, Paul, and I have a question. Maybe you guys, I got kicked off the internet for a while there, so I missed a little bit. But what is our responsibility on a leased truck as far as maintenance?
Oh, I did read that off, Jake.
Yeah.
So what's covered is all major and minor repairs, all routine service visits, tires, towing, roadside repairs, replacement trucks, annual registration costs, state and federal inspections, and washing.
Okay, so that's all covered.
Yeah.
So I'll make that second even a stronger one.
Okay.
Paul, I'll add something. I used to drive one of these Ryder trucks down New York, and when they break, you'd send a guy down with the truck, bring it to the shop, and you drive away with another truck. So it's not like you wait around for the truck to be repaired. They just give you the keys to another one, you're off.
Yeah.
Pretty sweet.
I guess the only question I have is when we bring the leased vehicle in for scheduled maintenance, would they do that as well? Or do we have to wait for it? And if so, how long would we have to wait? Those were all questions I would ask them and then, find out.
Yeah, I think for that stuff, we would drop it off. It was the Ryder location was like 10 minutes away. So drop off, it'd spend a day or 2 there, and we go back and pick it up. So, but that's a good question to ask them.
Yeah, and see if we have 3 vehicles and we keep the Mac, which is the newest vehicle, we can afford to do that. That would be another reason to have one that we actually own so that when we do have to part with a truck for a day or 2, we have the ability to do that.
I mean, to be honest, you could purchase a pickup truck for for the district just to have and to be able to drive back and forth and still probably be under budget than what we are right now between repairs and payments and everything else. So
well, it's not that difficult to get someone to drive someone down there. We can do that and then we pay for mileage. Ken, did you have another question?
Yes, as board members, I think we need to tell you that we have to not be driving an uninspected truck, and you need to make other plans here. I'm just thinking of legal responsibility.
Please.
No, I don't like doing it. I'd like to get that truck off the road as soon as possible.
Of course you would.
You lease a truck.
I don't, Jack asked how quickly I could lease a truck. I'm not sure, but I think I could do this, in a week or so.
Yeah, I would think.
it's pretty much instantaneous. I mean, if you sign it, yeah, you could probably have it by next week.
So there has
I mean,
been
there's.
motion in a
Thank
second.
you. I was just going to get to that. You beat me to it.
Paul.
Yeah. Steve.
But I wonder what kind of deal the district could get if they lease 2 trucks, but could the district handle 2 lease payments?
Well, that's an excellent question, Steve. And the answer would be, we're essentially paying the cost of 2 leases right now. So I guess we're affording it. Our budget was, we ran a deficit last month, but we had 3 pay periods too. And that accounts for a fair amount of that, but not all of it. I feel like we could do it through the end of the year, and then we budget for it, for 2025.
Hold on, let's move on the motion in a second before I forget what it is, and then we can have more discussion if we need to. But I know the motion was to approve you to get a lease on 1 vehicle for the time being. Correct if I'm wrong.
Yeah, and I'll certainly inquire about the possibility of 2, because I think Steve raises a good point. They might offer us a deal, maybe 2, if they know that we're going to lease another one in 2025, which is only a couple months away. They might extend that same offer and lower the lease for the
right.
So I'll ask it a couple different ways to get clarification.
That's okay, honey.
All right, so we'll move on the motion then. So the motion was to approve Paul to get at least 1 leased vehicle, and then to inquire about a second for next year. So all those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Nay. The ayes have it. Thank you. Now we can continue to talk.
Question on that. For a motion involving expenditure of money, does the motion have to contain some mention of the amount of money? I don't know the legal answer to that question.
Because it's not a purchase, I don't think it does. We already have a line for expenditures for trucks, maintenance, other. I don't think that it does.
Well, I wasn't sure either, because if we purchase something, I know, that does require a vote. But I just wanted to make sure the board was aware of the whole situation and how much money we were spending. Because it really does sound like it makes sense to do it as quickly as possible. But I do want to be careful and make sure we get, the best deal possible as well. But, I'm hopeful that we'll have this leased vehicle, before the next meeting. And I will distribute the information I have received from Ryder. I guess I would just caution people, use that for your information, but don't share it with other potential, bidders, because that wouldn't necessarily be fair. So, you can kind of keep that in your hip pocket, I guess, but if you reach out to somebody else, you wouldn't want to share that, because that wouldn't actually be, the way to do that.
Cut the dollar numbers off and copy it for us.
Well, no, I'll give it to you, and then you can, when you reach out, if you do reach out to somebody, just keep that in mind. But, it will be helpful for folks to know what we're looking for too in a vehicle, because there are certain things, it has to be a certain height, it has to be a certain width, it has to have a lift gate with a certain capacity. It can't exceed a certain weight because of the CDL requirement. So, yeah. I can put that together and try and get that out quickly.
How many companies lease. Oh, like Penske, Ryder, and
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if you can get leases from, some of the bigger, like Ford. I don't know if Ford would lease a box truck. I don't know if Sterling or, whoever else. Well, I just throw that name out there.
And if it was me, I would go for the 23 rather than the 19 or 20.
Just get the newer, yeah.
Even at $100 a month more, it's worth it, to me anyway.
Yeah.
I was actually doing some quick Google. I can't actually find any other people that lease box trucks around in an area in our area.
5 year on the 23, I think he said. Yes.
Which really isn't much more than the cost of buying a vehicle, when you get right down to it.
No, but the difference is you ain't got the upkeep on it.
And you can budget for the fixed costs of the lease payment. Right now, we can't budget for truck repairs because we never know. It's a moving target.
Yeah.
And this will give us, better ability to budget from one year to the next.
And that will
Given
get
the
that
amount of-
17 off the road.
Yeah.
Given the amount of technology there is in them now, I'd say at least that.
Is everyone ready to move on now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Sorry, can you hear me now, Paul?
what was that, Nick?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know. Apparently my internet's crapping out here too, but I'm back.
Yeah, you do break up occasionally, but I think I've heard most of what you've
Yeah, I was just trying to move. I was just trying to move on, and then I heard somebody else talk, and it's lagging so I can't tell if anybody was trying to talk or if we can move on to updates.
Yeah, so I'd like to move on to updates. I have in the notes, and I mentioned it earlier how we had a deficit in August, but we're still running a surplus of about 29,000, which, given how much we've spent on the vehicles, I still find that hard to believe. Recycling markets are decent. Cardboard's over $100 a ton. Mixed paper went up, actually above cardboard briefly. We were able to sell one load at, I think, 130, and then the last time we shipped paper, we only got 30, and we had to go to a different location. So I'm not sure what's happening in the paper market, but we're hopeful that we can go back to the mill that took it before. Most of the time, we get pretty good rates because our paper is so dry, and a lot of places don't produce dry mixed paper because it's collected in bins that are left out in the rain. Ours, because it's source separated, is cleaner and drier than anywhere else. And we did benefit from that for years because we were sending it to Green Fibers, who was making it into cellulose insulation. They moved to northeastern Pennsylvania, and it made transportation cost prohibitive. But our broker is, continuing to look for the best price. We did ship tin and aluminum last week, and this is the most aluminum we've ever shipped. It just happens we held on to aluminum bales for a while, and that's at 55 cents a pound.
Oh,
So
Wow.
yeah, that the check that I think Michelle showed me, is going to be about $13,000 between the aluminum and the tin. So that'll be a nice check in about a month to get that. Ken, did you have another question?
Yeah, there was a news story on the TV about a whole city promising to recycle all the plastic, and what they're really doing is simply putting it in some place and storing it and not doing a blessed thing with it. So I've been having a bunch of questions from people saying, hey, what is really happening with the plastic bottles you guys are containing? Are you taking in, and are they really being recycled, or are they just storing it someplace?
Yeah, I can't answer that question. I doubt that it's being stored because our broker usually doesn't deal with situations like that. And people are really reluctant to pay for plastic or any commodity for that matter if they're just going to sit on it. I have seen similar articles, and I can't imagine where, this plastic would be stored, but there is a market for number one and number two plastic, which represents probably over 80% of what's in our mixed plastic bales. Polar fleece. I'm trying to think of other things that get made from the plastic. Park benches, child's toys. There is a market for it. Now, sometimes folks will sit on plastic to see what the price of oil is going to do, but they won't sit on it for that long because they just don't have the storage space for that. So
Price of oil went down.
Yeah.
Yeah, apparently the story was all about they're storing it, counting on the oil companies have been spending billions of dollars to find out how they can separate the various kinds of plastic. And one big oil company decided it just can't never be done. The other ones haven't been able to do it. They just can't separate it.
I feel like I can speak a little bit about that. And I'm not sure if you're referring to the same one where a woman put an air tag in her recycling, and it ended up in the storage facility. And I believe that happened in Houston. And so, I mean, as we know, like our recycling systems are so localized across the country, and like what happens in Houston that makes national news. It's good that it sheds a spotlight on some stuff in some cases, but in a lot of cases that message actually can cause harm when it comes to the work that districts, across the state of Vermont are doing. Because when it comes to the programs that the Northeast Kingdom has, where it's pretty explicit about what is accepted, that really tailors to having a quality material that does have markets across the country. And there is value for colored and natural HDPE and number one PET, and then a little bit of number 5, that has some value in some cases. But there are mechanical recycling facilities that accept this material, and there is an end market for this material. Programs such as Houston's that do accept quote unquote like all plastics and like films and everything. And they're just, some places it is true, they're holding on to it, hoping that chemical recycling is going to be like a solution that you can put all your plastics into this system and it'll either gasification it or pyrolysis it, like some chemical process that'll bring it down to its like more petroleum form. But a lot of states aren't even considering that recycling by definition. There's a lot of controversy going on around it, but also a lot of investment going in that direction at the same time. And so I would always say to people, what you hear on national news is not Vermont's story. And that is like true no matter what you hear, because we do have unique systems here that are run by, districts such as the Northeast Kingdom that are putting really hard work into making it happen. And so, just my little interjection.
Yeah, and thanks for that, Shannon. I would also add too that, we used to take a 1 through 7 mix, and then over time, we reduced some of the things, and, people got a little angry, why aren't you taking 6 and 7? First of all, 6 and 7 represent a very small fraction of the waste stream, but they're also not being recycled. So, we kept up with the times and only include those items that are being recycled. So, I think that helps our case. And I think most of our plastic stays in kind of not New England, but the Mid-Atlantic region. Pennsylvania, Virginia, and North Carolina.
Paul, what's the story on styrofoam? We're starting to have a backup here. They're not picking it all up.
Yeah, we're swimming in styrofoam right now, and we're trying to, so just to give you an example, it does take two people, and I know I've said this before at other meetings. Last Monday was a holiday. On Tuesday, 4 people called out, and we only have 10. So when 40% of your workforce doesn't show up to work, there are things that don't get done. In fact, we weren't able to pick up Morgan, Brighton, and Glover last week because we just ran out of time. We didn't have enough people. And then trucks, we developed a plan to get everything done. And then we were faced with this truck issue. So we have had some success in getting caught up with the foam, but then something else happens and it pulls us in a different direction. We finally got our scrap metal yard cleared up. We got all the freon drained. We're working on trying to get some hazardous waste from the town of Barnet and the town of Linden. And, because we're down trucks, that makes it difficult. But, I'm shocked at how much styrofoam we're taking in. Shannon, I know the state said they wouldn't help fund the styrofoam machine because they banned single-use styrofoam. That's not what we're getting. We're getting large pieces of styrofoam used to package appliances.
Wait. I will say, even though I work for the state, not defending the state right now, but that was the foam recycling coalition that said they wouldn't fund it. I don't ever recall reaching out to DEC, like maybe I did, but I don't recall. But the foam recycling coalition is the one that's like, we're not going to give you grant money if you ban single-use foam food containers. And they'll give out like 40 grand to people who recycle foam unless you're in a state that bans it. And so that's what I recall, but I could be mistaken. Well, not trying to defend the DEC or A&R or anything.
Yeah, we did try and include it in our SWIP grant one year, and they gave that as a reason not to do it.
Okay. Never mind.
The other thing I think is happening too is non-district towns who want to recycle styrofoam are going to district facilities and overwhelming those that are collecting it. I just don't know, it's just amazing how much we have right now, and how much, people are turning in. I thought holiday season would be, busy for styrofoam. There is no season for styrofoam. It's constant.
It's all the time.
Yeah. Ken, you still have your hand up. You still.
Oh, I just put it back up again. Were we able to contact the maker of our styrofoam machine and ask if they have an add-on device that would help you handle the stuff as it comes out so you could do it with one person?
I've done that, and not for what we have. So we kind of got stuck with.
Maybe we ought to all call them up and tell them that's a lousy deal, because making you use 2 people is a big problem for you.
I think in most places where this machine is set up, they're serving one town, or in some cases it might be a county, but we're serving multiple counties. We probably bit off a little more than we could chew by rolling it out to different locations too quickly, because we did keep up for a little while, and we kind of have this ebb and flow where it builds up. We put manpower on it, we get it all caught up, and then we just kind of say, oh well, we got the styrofoam caught up, and then 2 weeks later we have and inordinate amount again. So what we need to do is figure out, and I know Steve Gray mentioned this, and we may still pursue this, is closing early on Saturday and processing styrofoam for the last 2 or 3 hours, and closing at noon, but still working till 3. And that's what we need to do. We need to pick a day, and we need to make that the day and the time that we process foam. And
could you hire somebody just to be on this machine? All they do is handle the work in the back end and come in twice a week or something?
we probably could. Part of the issue too is, we're not open to the public all the time, but that precludes us. We are open on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. So that kind of takes those days off the table. And then Tuesdays and Thursdays are the days we try and do it, but it doesn't always work out.
Just sounds like you have a personnel problem. Like, I don't know if you can get new people. I know it's very tough, but you need an extra person maybe on those days.
No, it's definitely a labor issue, and yeah, I think Steve's onto something by suggesting that we do that on Saturday, because or we do it on a Thursday or a Tuesday. But again, we've tried that, and other things get in the way sometimes. So
can a volunteer from the board come over and help you do it?
We've actually had Bruce from Island Pond come down on multiple occasions and help us. And we may look, to have that, because it's not difficult. The styrofoam is light. The bags weigh less than 40 pounds. The other person is just basically sitting, feeding the ingot into this form so that, we can make blocks out of it. So it's not strenuous. If anything, it's probably boring. But anyway,
would you like anybody who wants to get involved on the board to email you?
Yeah,
available?
Yeah. Anybody who's interested, get in contact with me, and we've certainly, put together a couple folks, and can get you in whatever time, whatever day you want to try and do it. Certain restrictions we can't.
I can only do it on Fridays if there's other people that can do it on Fridays, but that's the only day I have off. So.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll keep that in mind, Bruce, because it's really piling up.
Yeah.
One more brief question.
Okay, Jan has a question.
What's the maximum size that you can actually put into the machine at a time?
Oh, I don't know if everyone heard that, but Jan asked what the maximum size is that we can put into the machine. I believe the hopper is about 3 feet wide. And in theory, any length could be fed in because it's ground as it gets fed in, but you're limited. I think 36 inches.
You can break them into chunks pretty quickly. Just anything that's oversized, you just give it a little karate chop or kick it with your foot. You can break the pieces into anything smaller and then stuff it right in.
Yeah. And sometimes you have to do that because the material bridges and the teeth don't grab it. So you have to kind of force it in. But usually just additional pressure on whatever you're pushing in, whether it's a cooler or a preformed piece. It'll eventually grab it and shred it pretty quickly. We can do an ingot in about 20 minutes. And that's 4 bags of styrofoam.
Yeah.
So if we could dedicate half a day, we could get a lot done. And I think, Bruce, when you were down here, you probably got, I don't know, 4, 6, maybe even more ingots than that.
One day we made 11 ingots.
Yeah. So it does go fast once you get people on it.
How long does it take to heat that up, Paul? From the time you start the machine?
It takes 30 minutes to heat the machine up, or approximately 30 minutes, but yeah. because it does have to heat up to 150 degrees Celsius.
So how many ingots you got on hand right now?
We have, you mean unprocessed or
No,
processed? I
process.
think we have 2 pallets of ingots processed right now, which would probably be about a ton. And those are shrink wrapped and placed outside.
Hey, Paul, I had a question about the ingots, just thinking about that. Can we make the ingots bigger?
We might be able to make them bigger. It might just make it more difficult to handle though. You know, it seems like palletizing them, you know, because we've thought about that. We thought, well, what if we could get it, you know, get the machine up off the ground and
Yep.
have it kind of spill into a box or a barrel. And we could put hinges on the barrel and then, you know, open this thing up once it solidifies. I just don't know, you know, how much that doesn't really speed up the process. It doesn't solve the problem of actually getting it through the machine. You know, the ingot size is manageable, but it certainly, if it could fall freely into a container, that takes one person out of the equation.
I was thinking of some kind of a little mechanical press that you have it high. It's kind of annoying being on the ground there, but if you were up a few feet and you had some kind of, and it was feeding into something maybe a little larger ingot, and you had some kind of a pull down lever that you could compress it, and then, you know, in between, you know, when stuff's not flowing out, you compress it, and then, you know, and then start to, you know, keep the flow going, and then you know, some kind of like a pull down device or something that, you know, could go like a little I don't know, like a piston that would go into the, you know, ingot thing, so you don't have to. Yeah. Seems like that'd be quicker.
It would be, you know, we have that downstroke baler right next to the machine. And if there was some way we could get it to feed into that, you know, and we wouldn't even need to necessarily compress it much. And because it's a metal, you know, chamber, material wouldn't stick to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, it's too bad that the company who makes it doesn't like recognize that as an issue and come up with some sort of, you know, engineering solution for that.
Do they make a bigger machine?
I'm pretty sure they do make a bigger machine. Shannon, do you know anything about that?
I believe that is the bigger of the 2 models.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe so. If I recall, like one is designed, you know, for a community of like 80,000, and this one was like 150, you know. Then that would be if you were like processing foam all the time and only processing foam type of thing. But yeah, I think he says that is the one that's for larger service areas. But I could be mistaken.
Huh. Well,
but I will say I agree, you know, that I feel like when mentioning to him things about like ergonomic design and things like that, it sort of felt short. And while I always felt like he was more of like a salesperson, you know, than like a product designer or engineer. You know, he was, you know, so that
he was definitely a salesman. There's no doubt about
totally
that.
My personal opinion. He's a charismatic person, you know.
So can we move on?
Yeah. I have a few questions.
Yeah, go ahead, Steve.
Okay, number 56 on the financial. I know you said there was a 3rd pay period, and then you know it was like 17,000. I guess my question is that if employees are calling out, it looks like they're getting paid even though they're calling out.
Well, yeah, they have paid time off, sick leave.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. The other one is 62, the health insurance. It looks like you had an employee opt out.
Oh, we had several employees opt out. We might have had someone who had it, who quit. I think that might be what you're referring to. The open enrollment period is coming up soon. I think it starts November 1st. And I think we're going to have actually more people sign up for it. So, I would expect those costs to go up some, not just because they asked for, I don't know, it was like a 15 or 20% raise in rates. So there's that, but we'll also have more people participating, I think, going into 2025.
Sorry, Paul, I keep losing you guys. So was that for the health insurance? I didn't hear.
Yeah, that was the health insurance.
And number 77, I know we didn't have a bill for trash removal last month, but it's $1,100 and something.
Yeah, that seems awfully high. I know that as part of Sutton Bulky, we actually used one of the dumpsters to get rid of things that we had around here. We still had an ag film bale that we needed to get rid of. So we paid for some of that, the container that we used. But that shouldn't have been reflected in August's. I don't think so anyway. It was a Sutton Bulky. Yeah, that event was held at the end of August, so we wouldn't have actually been billed for that. I'm not sure, Steve, why trash disposal would have gone up so much in 1 month. I can look into that.
And then
It might have been that we didn't get the bill until later, and so there was no payment the previous month, and we made 2 payments in 1 month. But I'll.
Well, that was the case. That was the case. We didn't have a bill the month before, but usually it's around $300 a month or so.
Right. Sometimes when we have extra trash, like if we go to a hazardous waste event, we bring back a large bag of trash. And when I say large, it's the same size as the plastic bags that we collect at facilities. Myers will charge us extra for that.
And the last one has to do with health insurance, but in 2023, the budget under per capita, we took in $49,763. Today we spent $23,400. So that comes to $26,363. And on our last sheet of the budget, at the bottom, it says that there's $22,179 left. So it's about a $4,200 difference. These are tax dollars that are coming from our member towns. So I just want to make sure these dollars are accounted for.
Yeah. No. Can you go over that math again? We took in.
Yeah. Okay, in 2023.
Yep.
Per capita, it took in $49,763. And today, $23,400 has been spent. So that's $26,363.
Can you redo that, Paul? I didn't hear anything he said.
Yeah. So
what was the price?
2029. It's about $4,000 difference. 4,200, right, Steve?
Right.
Yeah.
What is?
I'll just look into that and find out. I have a feeling some of that was upfront costs that might have been incurred. Well, it should have all showed in the budget though.
Right.
So yeah.
That's it.
Okay.
Sorry, Paul, I keep cutting out, but I heard 20 something thousand and that was it. And then I had to reboot it again.
Well, there's a difference of about $4,200 from what we took in and what we've spent. And so there's a question, where'd that money go? Or
Right.
And what's left on the sheet?
I'm sorry, Steve, I didn't quite catch that.
Well, if you look at the bottom of the last page of the budget this year, it says per capita remaining is $22,179.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And it should
If
be
you do the math, it should be
26.
26.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, so I'll find out what the difference is.
Okay.
Okay, does anyone have any other questions about programs? I'm hoping that once the hazmat season ends.
If not, what? Oh my God, this thing is killing me tonight. Oh, can you hear me now, Paul?
Yes.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was asking. I heard you ask the same thing. I was trying to get to. Was there anything? Any other updates?
Well, just on the executive director search, I'm hoping to spend more time on that. The hazmat season is winding down. We're in pretty good shape out there. So I'm hoping to be able to reach out to the League of Cities and Towns here in the next week or so, and at least get some sort of process initiated. But
with VLCT?
Yeah, VLCT. Yep. And that way, when we do the budget for next year, I can work in, I think I spoke to Joel, our former chairman, about Island Pond's process for finding a town manager. And they didn't go with the league, but I think he felt like maybe they could have, and maybe we should take a closer look at that. We still have plenty of time, but the 1 year has already gone by, and I want to make sure that I get things moving quickly.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Yeah.
Or not, you think.
So, any questions about that? Hopefully once I get a little further, I can share more information with the board. Dan has.
What's your projected end date? What are you looking at?
So Jan asked what my projected end date is, and it would be September 28th of next year.
2025.
Yeah.
So we're talking about a year.
A year and 3 weeks. And I've said before that, if the district isn't ready or hasn't found somebody, I would definitely stay through the end of the year. And probably, I don't want anyone to hold me to this, but I'd probably stay until my birthday, which would be March 28th of 2026.
Oh, Paul. Wow.
But
Woo.
I'd prefer not to, but again, I don't want to leave the district in a situation where this is unresolved. So, but
Well, we all appreciate that, I'm sure.
I don't I don't want to work another summer. I'll work next summer, but I'm just not having summer to myself because of all the events that I'm involved in. That's where I'll draw the line. So, but I feel confident that, whoever I work with, will eventually, hopefully, form a committee and we'll get this moving and find a suitable replacement prior to the end of 2025.
Oh,
That's gonna go by fast.
Yeah, I know.
Too fast.
Yes.
So the only other thing that I would like to bring up is next month we are supposed to meet in person. We're also planning an open house for the phone. So this is this is going to give us some incentive to get caught up because we're inviting people from other districts, people from USDA, to highlight the phone program. That's going to be immediately preceding the meeting. I had a conversation with Steve Gray earlier in the week or last week, it was last week, about the public safety building not being available because the town of Linden is still going to be in there, I guess, or FEMA. So we can use the Congregational Church, which is right down the road, but I just wasn't sure. And when I say right down the road, it literally is maybe 200 yards. So it's close. There is parking there, and it would be in the basement.
There is an elevator.
There is an elevator. So I just wanted to make sure people were aware of that. And if, we should still go forward with that. I don't see why we wouldn't, but I just wanted to make sure people understood that the meeting would be right down the road. And if there were, objections, the one thing that's going to be difficult is trying to provide a remote login, because I don't know if they have any of that available at the church or not. So, if you can't make it to the meeting, and I almost think we have to provide that as an option now, but I'm not positive.
Probably, yeah. Yep.
I'm not sure what Rotary does.
Steve, is there any way you can find out to see if they have a call-in option or?
Yeah, I know some Rotarians I can call, find out.
Okay.
So Paul, if there's going to be an open house before the meeting, are you thinking of starting earlier than usual with the open house?
Oh, the open house would be, I think, from 5 to 6:30.
Perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, we would definitely do it prior, and then just, I don't see us taking the full hour and a half, but people will mingle, and then we'll work our way down to the Congregational Church so that our meeting can start at 6:30. And then the other thing would be the executive committee usually meets prior to the October meeting to have a budget meeting so that we can bring, a budget to the board in October. And that's typically done on the 4th Tuesday of the month, which would be September 24th. So I've already asked Jack and Nick and Steve, Paulette, I guess.
Yes, I could make that, I think.
Okay.
I just need reminders. I'm
Sure.
terrible. My mind doesn't seem to want to remember.
I hear you. So yeah, we'll send out a reminder regarding that. Who else is on the executive committee? Oh, Dan.
I am.
Oh, Walter, yeah. Does that work?
Yeah,
for
that's
you,
fine.
Walter?
Yeah, that's fine with me.
Okay. Jan,
At large,
but the 24th work? for
no
you?
problem.
Okay. Okay, so it sounds like everybody
5 o'clock, 5:30.
5 or 5:30. Does anyone have a preference?
Your call.
Probably for
Paulette?
you, the earlier the better, isn't it, really?
Paulette, if you're driving down here, would you prefer 5 or 5:30? You're the furthest.
Okay, it's on Tuesday, the 23rd, 24th.
Correct.
Doesn't matter to me. 5:30 is fine. Yeah,
Then you don't have to go home in the dark.
Would 5 o'clock work as well, Paulette?
sure.
We want
Yes,
to
it would.
try and get you home before dark.
Okay,
Okay,
Yeah.
so 5 o'clock on the 24th.
okay.
That's all I have. I don't know if anybody has anything else.
Paul, has there been any movement on the bail wrap?
No, in fact, we were pursuing that, but because of the issues we're having with foam, we're not going to try and add anything at this point in time. So, if we can get the bail wrap or get the foam situation under control, we may consider that. We were talking about trying to do a once or twice a year kind of collection event. But I just don't know how we'd pull it off, because I'm pretty sure we'd get a lot of material, and I don't know, unless we did it on a Sunday, how we would manage it.
Is there a market for that?
There is.
Okay. How lucrative is that market though?
Not very.
Okay.
Not very. It's just, Dustin asked, is there a lucrative market? The market isn't lucrative, but it is something that a lot of people have asked about. It was popular when we did it, and it was unfortunate that we had to stop it, but trying to start it up again has proved to be a little difficult.
Can we run that through our baler, or would that be the downstroke?
No, we can run it through our regular baler.
Yeah.
Yeah, it creates quite a mess, but we can. We've done it before, so.
I was just wondering with this baler.
Yes, we have. We've owned this baler prior to stopping the ag film program, so we have run ag film through this baler.
We've had that sucker quite a while now.
Yeah. I can't tell you how long, but we've had it for a while. Yeah.
It's been a while.
I want to say 2018. So it hasn't been that long.
Yeah. Well,
but I think that's when the other one blew out the backside and we had to get a new one. But anyway, that's all I have. I guess now would be a good time to entertain a motion to adjourn.
So
move.
Second.
Hey, oh my God, I'm gonna kill this thing.
We hear you, Nick.
Oh, can you that time? Sorry.
Yep.
You're lucky I wasn't swearing. I'm about ready to throw this thing right through the wall.
We're just waiting for you to call the question.
Did we have a motion to adjourn?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, perfect. Any discussion? I can't hear nothing, Paul. I'm sorry.
No discussion.
Okay, perfect. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nay? Ayes have it.
Okay, thanks everyone. We'll see you in October.
Good
Good
night.
night, everybody.
Good night.